A dryer starts squeaking on a Tuesday load and gets a little louder with every cycle after that. A technician opens the front panel for maybe 90 seconds and quotes $240 for a service call that amounts to a few drops of lubricant on one metal shaft. The bill gets paid because a dryer that shakes and squeals through an entire cycle feels like an emergency. Most of the time, it isn't. The actual fix costs about $4 and takes 10 minutes, and almost nobody who repairs appliances for a living has much incentive to say so. Before this video is over, the exact part responsible for that sound will be identified, along with how to tell which one it is from the noise alone, and the 2 mistakes that make people give up on the cheap fix and book a technician anyway. Appliance repair forums are full of the same story, told by people who have done this work for decades. A dryer squeal, especially one that starts quiet and grows louder as the machine heats up, almost never means the dryer is dying. It usually means a small wheel or the metal shaft it spins on has simply run dry. That shaft sits behind a rear or front access panel, depending on the brand, and reaching it typically takes a screwdriver and about 15 minutes, not a service appointment. This channel exists because that 15-minute job gets sold as a full repair visit more often than it should. For more of what appliance manufacturers would rather explain during a paid visit than in a comment section, subscribing keeps this channel in front of the algorithm. 2 components cause the overwhelming majority of dryer squeaks, and the location of the sound gives away which one it is. A squeak from the rear of the machine, one that gets louder as the drum spins faster, almost always points to the drum support rollers or the drum bearing sitting at the center of the back wall. A squeak from the front, often paired with a lower, almost scraping quality rather than a clean squeal, points to the idler pulley, or the felt glide pads. The drum rests against near the door. The idler pulley is a small spring-loaded wheel that keeps tension on the drive belt so it doesn't slip while the drum turns. The support rollers carry the actual weight of a spinning drum full of wet towels, load after load, for years at a time. Both the pulley and the rollers turn on a bare metal shaft. Both were greased exactly once, at the factory, with an amount meant to last for years, not decades. Once that factory grease dries out or cooks off from repeated heat cycles, metal starts turning directly against metal, producing the high-pitched squeal that grows louder the longer the dryer runs, since the metal itself heats up and expands slightly under friction. Manufacturer service literature is fairly consistent about what happens next. Several major brands describe this exact repair, reaching the pulley or roller shaft, as something requiring the cabinet to be opened. And they point owners toward a licensed technician for it, even though the task itself, once the panel is off, amounts to little more than lubricating one shaft. That guidance is not dishonest exactly. Opening a dryer cabinet involves a spinning drum, a drive belt under real tension, and in gas models a combustion chamber, and there are legitimate reasons to keep untrained hands away from all 3. But the squeak fix itself, once the panel is open, is not a complicated repair. It is a 2-minute grease job, and the same technician performing it usually bills the full cabinet opening service call for a lubricant that costs about $5 a tube. The lubricant matters more than most people expect, and getting it wrong is the reason some attempts at this fix fail before they even start. Ordinary WD-40, the aerosol spray already sitting in most garages, is not appropriate here. It is combustible, and dryer internals run hot enough during a normal cycle that spraying it near heating elements carries a real fire risk, which is exactly why several manufacturers explicitly warn against using it inside a dryer. The product that actually does the job is white lithium grease, sold in a small tube for around $4 to $6 at any hardware store. It is heat stable, it does not evaporate the way an aerosol lubricant does, and unlike oil, it does not attract the enormous volume of lint circulating inside a running dryer. The diagnosis itself comes down to timing more than any special tool. A squeak that's present from the very first moment the drum starts turning almost always traces back to the idler pulley, or a roller. Since both sit under constant load the instant the drum moves. A squeak that only shows up once the machine has been running a few minutes, and goes quiet again once it cools down, points to a shaft where the old grease has simply thinned from heat rather than one that's fully dry, which turns out to be the easier case to resolve. Either way, the underlying cause is the same, and so is the fix. Reaching the part does mean opening a panel, at the rear for the drum rollers or at the front for the idler pulley depending on the model. But once it's open, the shaft in question is small and easy to identify. The repair from that point is genuinely minor. A small amount of heat-stable grease worked into that one shaft is typically the entire job, and the difference in sound is usually noticeable the next time the dryer runs. On the rare occasion a faint squeak lingers, it usually means the grease hasn't fully settled yet, rather than that the fix failed. Two mistakes account for nearly every case where this doesn't work. The first is over-application. More grease doesn't mean a better fix, and too much of it around a roller shaft becomes a magnet for the exact lint a dryer already produces by the pound, turning a simple squeak fix into a future clog. Less is genuinely better here. The second mistake is letting grease reach the drive belt, or the felt drum glides at the very front of the drum. Those two components are meant to stay completely dry. Grease on a belt causes slipping and premature wear, and grease on a felt glide traps lint into a rough paste that makes the original noise worse, not better, sometimes within a single load. The most common pushback is that this sounds too simple to be the actual fix for a sound that loud, and most of the time, it really is that simple. There's one real exception worth knowing before starting. If the squeak comes with a grinding or knocking sound underneath it, one that gets worse as the drum spins faster rather than staying constant, that points to the rear drum bearing itself rather than a roller, and a bearing that has actually failed needs replacing, not lubricating. Grease will not quiet a bearing that's already worn through, and treating that sound as a simple lube job just delays a repair that's already necessary. The second common objection is warranty concern, which is fair for a dryer still under its original coverage. Most manufacturer warranties specify authorized service for internal repairs, and opening the cabinet on a machine still under warranty is a real trade-off worth weighing first. For anything outside that warranty window, which describes most dryers making this particular noise, the calculation looks very different. A third question worth answering directly is how long a $4 fix is actually supposed to last, since a repair that needs repeating every few months isn't much of a repair at all. White lithium grease applied correctly to a pulley or roller shaft typically holds up for 1 to 3 years of normal household use before it needs reapplying, which lines up closely with how long the original factory grease lasted before the squeak showed up in the first place. That's not a permanent fix in the sense of replacing a worn part outright, but for a shaft and wheel that are otherwise in good condition, it's close enough to permanent that most households will replace the dryer itself before they need to re-grease it a second time. None of this is a secret inside the appliance repair trade itself. Technicians who have spent decades doing this work will say, almost word for word, that a dry pulley shaft or a dry roller is one of the most common calls they get, and one of the least complicated to actually fix once the cabinet is open. What's disappeared isn't the knowledge, it's the expectation that homeowners still have access to it before paying for a service call to find it out. A $4 tube of grease, and 15 minutes used to be common household knowledge. It still can be. If this saved a $200 service call, the make and model of the dryer belongs in the comments below. along with which panel had to come off to reach it, so the next person scrolling past this video with the exact same sound knows it actually worked. Like and subscribe.